Welcome to Concrete Block, the podcast where we break down the latest news and current events. I'm your host, Walter. Today, we're going to dive into a complex web of international politics and diplomacy as China plays a key role in brokering a ceasefire between the US and Iran. As tensions between the two nations continue to escalate, China has stepped in to try and calm the waters. But what's behind Beijing's surprise intervention? Is it a genuine attempt to promote peace and stability in the region, or is there something more at play? According to reports, China's diplomatic efforts have been focused on supporting Pakistan's mediation attempts, with the goal of reopening the Strait of Hormuz and restoring normal passage of ships through the critical waterway. But Iran has made it clear that ships must obtain its permission to pass through the strait, adding another layer of complexity to an already volatile situation. China's motivations for getting involved are likely multifaceted. On one hand, Beijing has a significant stake in maintaining stability in the region, given its reliance on Middle Eastern oil and its growing economic interests in the area. On the other hand, China may also see this as an opportunity to present itself as a responsible and constructive global power, particularly in contrast to the Trump administration's more unpredictable approach to international relations. As one expert noted, China welcomes any chance to present itself as a constructive, responsible power, while the Trump administration is seen as the source of the instability. But despite China's efforts, the underlying structural tensions between Beijing and Washington remain unresolved, and it's unclear how this will all play out in the long run. We'll be keeping a close eye on this developing story and bringing you updates as more information becomes available. In the meantime, we want to hear from you. What do you think about China's role in the US-Iran conflict? Do you think Beijing's efforts will be successful in promoting peace and stability in the region? We'll be right back with more of today's top news on Concrete Block. Welcome back to Concrete Block. We're diving into the complex world of international politics where tensions are running high between the US, Iran, and their respective allies. The situation in the Strait of Hormuz remains a major concern, with shipping effectively shut down despite a ceasefire deal between the US and Iran. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer has been at the forefront of efforts to find a solution, meeting with defense officials from various Middle Eastern countries to discuss next steps. However, his approach has not been without controversy, particularly in his interactions with US President Donald Trump. The two leaders have had a string of public disagreements, with Trump criticizing Starmer for not expanding Britain's role in the conflict. Starmer has maintained that the UK will prioritize its own principles and values rather than being drawn into a war that he believes is not in Britain's interests. He has also emphasized the need for freedom of navigation in the Strait of Hormuz without tolls or restrictions imposed by either the US or Iran. Meanwhile, Trump has continued to face criticism for his handling of the situation, including threats of war crimes and accusations of bullying other nations into compliance. The international community is watching with bated breath as the situation continues to unfold. As we navigate this complex and ever-changing landscape, it's essential to consider multiple perspectives and prioritize fairness and balance in our analysis. The consequences of this conflict will indeed be long felt, and it's crucial that leaders take a thoughtful and measured approach to finding a resolution. Welcome back to Concrete Block. Today, we're going to dive into the complex situation unfolding in Venezuela. As the country emerges from a 27-year span of dictatorships under Hugo Chavez and Maduro, it's now at a critical juncture. With its next oil boom already beginning, oil revenues are rising, and private investment is set to follow. However, this newfound prosperity also poses significant challenges for the country's fledgling political system. On one hand, the influx of capital and the return of Venezuelans who had left during the Maduro years could raise hopes beyond what any transitional government can deliver. This asymmetry between expectations of rapid change and the reality of slow institution building is a central challenge Venezuela faces. The task ahead is daunting, with enormous needs and limited state capacity to satisfy them. Two forces could help stabilize Venezuela: its vast natural resources and the Venezuelan people's desire for an electoral democracy. Revenues from oil exports are providing much-needed funds for the government, but elections remain a contentious issue. Delcy Rodriguez, the current leader, may be inclined to delay elections to prolong her tenure, while Maria Corina Machado, the leader of the Democratic opposition, is pushing for free and fair presidential elections as soon as possible. Venezuela now faces three plausible paths toward elections: a rushed vote that could be destabilizing, a managed transition with consequential reforms, or a drawn-out stalemate where entrenched networks adapt and delay. The real danger is not that Venezuela will fail to hold elections, but that it will hold them too soon, presenting the result as proof of a democratic overhaul without genuinely addressing the country's institutional weaknesses. Only by resisting shortcuts, insisting on credible rules, and accepting that legitimacy cannot be improvised can Venezuela ensure that its next election is more than just pageantry. It could be the moment when freedom and political change become durable and the will of its people truly begins to matter. As we watch this situation unfold, it's crucial to remember the importance of fair, free, and transparent elections in establishing a strong democratic foundation. That's all for today's Concrete Block. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and until next time, stay informed.